Ratios. Let's look at the different things we can do with them. First thing we need to be able to do is to be able to simplify ratios. Look at this ratio here, 21 to 36. Okay, the numbers are large, which makes it more complex. What we've got to do is to identify, is there a common factor? There is a common factor in this instance. The common factor of 21 and 36 is 3. So the first thing I do, wherever possible, is simplify them, make the numbers smaller. The other thing you need to be able to do is to change the ratio into the form of n to 1 or 1 to n. Now, you may be commanded to do this by the question, or the context may suggest what to do. Let's look at this one first, where you turn it as some number to 1. And then we'll stick with this 7 to 12. How can I write that ratio as some other number to 1? Well, the easy thing to do is to turn the second number into 1, you divide it by 12. And as with fractions, so with ratios, you have to do the same to both sides. So, turning this ratio in the form of n to 1, it would be 7 divided by 12 to 1. All you've done is you've divided both sides by the second number. If I wanted to turn it into the form of 1 to n, well then, I wouldn't divide both sides by 12, I would divide both sides by 7. Okay, so that turns the first number into 1. Hang on, I'm making a mess, pig's ear of this. So, here is the original ratio, 7 to 12. I want to turn it into the form of the number 1 to some other number. So I divide both sides by 7. So I turn the first number into 1. And we get this ratio here, 1 to 12 over 7. So, we always try to simplify first and foremost. Secondly, we may be asked to by the question, or the context may suggest, turn it into the form of some number to 1, or 1 to some number. Okay, now, the other important thing about ratios is, I suppose the best way to describe it as keeping quantities in the right ratio. Say I want to keep things in the ratio, here we go, 5 to 4. And I'm given, I don't know, they'll give you some units, and say I'm given 250 grams of the first thing. How many grams of the second thing do I need? Well, the way to do this is to think of multipliers. What do you multiply 5 by to turn it into 250? Well, the simplest way of doing it is it's new number over old number. You may be able to cancel it down, but if it's a calculated question, that'll do it for you. And then, to keep the ratio the same, you have to multiply the other side by the same amount. And what is 4 times 250 over 50? Well, if I didn't have a calculator, I suppose here I would need to cancel down. So that's just 50 over 1, or 50. And then 50 times 4 is 200. Okay, so that was a relatively straightforward one. You may get horribler numbers, but the principle's the same. The multiplier is the new number divided by the old number, okay? And you have to do the same to both sides, okay? Now, finally, for the sake of today's lesson, the sharing in a given ratio. Alternatively, expressing a ratio. Okay. How do I share a quantity in a given ratio? Let's look at example 1. let's say I want to share 150 kilograms. For some reason, the share questions are almost always money, but anyway, in the ratio of 2 to 3 to 1. The ratios aren't always just two numbers. You may get three numbers, you may even possibly get four. Well, I think the best way of doing it is, from a learning point of view, thinking about these things as a fraction. What is this, these two shares as a fraction of the whole? It's 2 shares out of 6. The 2 was that number there. The 6 I got by adding up all the shares. This is 3/6. And this is 1/6. And if you've got it right, all the fractions should add up to 1. Okay. Right, so I want to share 150 kilograms in the ratio 2 to 3 to 1. So I'm going to find 2/6 of 150. Now I'm only writing that down from a teaching point of view. What you would do is you just do 2/6. The word of is times. Just for pedantic reasons, I always put the 1 under there. Then, as I've taught you before, try and cancel down. Okay, divide a number on the top and a number on the bottom by a common factor. Here we go. My brain's not working very well, but I know that 3 goes into that, and it goes into that 50 times. Any more cancelling? Yes. I've got a choice. I could divide top and bottom by 2, and in fact I'll do that one. It's the simplest. Then, look to see which numbers haven't been crossed out, and multiply the top, 50, and the bottom, 1 times 1. If it's 1 times 1, don't bother writing it, okay, because there's no point, you'd have to convert it back to a whole number anyway. So if the bottom number's 1, the denominator's 1, just ignore it. Okay, let's do that again with the second amount. So I need 3/6 of 150. Again, this is just from a teaching point of view. You would straightways go and do the calculation. And almost all of you would, in fact, instead of writing down 3/6, you'd just write a half, because that's what 3/6 simplifies as. Any cancelling? Yeah, there's a nice straightforward one. 75. Now, finding a half of 150, you probably don't need to use arithmetic anyway. But so you could just write down equals 75. Now, to find the last bit, you could do the same thing, find 1/6, which is what we're going to do. So 1/6 of 150 grams, 150 kilograms, my mistake. And here's the calculation. 1/6 times 150 over 1 equals. Well, actually, 6 is a factor of 150, and it goes in 25 times. And multiplying the top, enter.
Sorry,
Yeah.
for a spare calculator, please.
I have one spare. I made mine. There you go. And there you go, there's 25. Now, what have I missed out from a point of view? It should be, I should have put the units in. And there you go. The other way of finding the last one is I could have added up the previous two, assuming, of course, I got these right. 50 add 75 is 125, and then just take it away from 150 to give me the 25. Okay? So, to recap, the basics of ratios. Simplifying them. Turning them into the form of some number to 1, or 1 to some number. In some ways, the hardest of the basic ones is keeping the ratios in the right quantity. Use the multiplier, and the multiplier you calculate by looking at the new number over the old number, and what you do to one side of a ratio, you have to do to the other. Sharing is best, I believe, best done by turning each of the ratios into a fraction, because that's another important skill you need, and then finding that fraction of the total quantity. Okay.